And we are back with another episode. Our guest for this podcast is architect Arun Shekhar from Humming Tree. Humming Tree is a creative studio based in Calicut, Kerala for art, architecture, and urbanism. Under the creative direction of two co-founders, architect Mohammed Afnan and architect Arun Shekhar. We discuss about their philosophy and protocols to follow as an architect while dealing with a client.
Hey Arun sir, welcome to Art Saga Dialogue. And first of all, how are you? And second of all, finally we're having this interview.
Hi, Sagar. I'm doing well. Thank you so much for asking. And yeah, all good, all good. How have you been?
I am good. So we saw
Yes.
Humming Trees projects before we started this interview today, and I must say that they are so detailed, and I would love to know more about it. So we'll start with our first segment, which is PSD, Philosophy, Story, and Design. My first question to you is your architectural experience as a student and as a practicing architect.
Okay. So to begin with, my friend and partner Afnan couldn't make it for the interview, but I think he missed out on a big time. But speaking about the student life that we had, back then, Afnan is like a year senior to me, and we happen to be like very best friends. And during the college, it was merely like, helping each other, different architecture projects. It's like, you know how it is, right? Like a junior helps senior, and then, that's how, they develop a whole different kind of, dialogues between different batches and stuff. So during the course of our architecture schooling, we kind of developed this kind of, what do I say, a link and established it by doing small kind of projects, say about a product design for like a couple of brands or a small makeover of a living room, etc., etc. So, and that's how our collaboration began. And I think we kind of gelled together the way we expressed our ideas together. And yeah, and then the rest is I just finished my graduation, and then I wanted to leave Bangalore for that. I'm from Bangalore and he's from Kerala. And he's like, no, why don't you come back to Kerala and just see? It's a really nice place out here and all of it. And I was like, okay. And that's how I moved to Kerala and in Calicut. And it's like such a beautiful and lovely place to be in. And then we started off with Humming Tree. And yeah, and then we started off with like really, really small, just by doing residential projects and then commercial. And then we gradually transcended the bigger projects. Now we're doing hospitality, the commercial projects, and like mansions, and etc., etc. So yeah.
I'm so glad that Uzefa sir introduced me with you guys, and I'm so happy that I'm having this interview. But I would like to know how you came up with the name Humming Tree.
Okay. So first of all, I would like to kind of thank Josefa as well and Jasim. They both have been like such a good friends over the time. I think we connected over Instagram. And one of the craziest thing is we have become like pen buddies. We haven't met at all. Like we haven't met. I think it's been 4 years now. We've just been texting and on DMing on Instagram, and they've been really kind and helpful, in that way. So kudos to Muses. Yeah, with respect to Humming Tree, it was an instant kind of like a decision that we were very sure about one thing, that we didn't wanted a matchup of our both names. That was one thing that we were very clear. And second of all, we had different names in mind, but at the end of the day, when we traveled to Sri Lanka together, we were in deeply and madly in love with Jeffrey Baba, the architecture or the interiors for the matter. So somewhere this resonated that trees and landscape should be a part of an integral part of all the practices that we do. And that's how that we wanted to propagate that through our projects. So it's kind of very weird, but we somehow came about like, okay, this is what you need to transcend, and humming and and then tree, and we were just writing out different words and stuff. So yeah, and that's how it all came about.
I think humming tree, when I hear the word, it's very peaceful.
That's why. Thank you so much. That's why, like, we keep getting a lot of questions, but when they hear the story, how did you come about? Then they'd be like, okay.
No, but I think you mentioned Jeffrey Bawa and the landscape, and when I connect the name with that, now I see the meaning that it is very peaceful.
Yeah. Thank you. Thank you.
So moving on to my next question, can you tell us about your design philosophy?
Okay. So basically, I think we are like more in our studio. The way we have come out is we're kind of liberated. We don't have. If you ask me about the philosophy per se, I can't like name one, because for us it's about being very relevant to today's context and today's time. So for us, the philosophy is something that we really follow is about. Uh, something which is true to ourselves. I mean, like at the end of the day, every project that you see really comes from a deeper place, that who we are as a person and who we are as a brand, Afnan and I, for that matter, and what headspace are we in, stuff. So if you see most of the projects, there's some kind of fun, there's some kind of dark side to it, and there's always a quirky side to it. So the philosophy is nothing but being very relevant, I think. I think being true to oneself is something that we really follow.
So knowing about your philosophy, so when I got connected with you on Instagram, so I was
Yes.
seeing one particular project which was resort, and I saw all the progress about that project. So my next segment, which is knowing the process, so I would like to know which is the project which is close to your heart.
Okay. So I think all the projects that we have done is extremely dear to us. So if you like kind of ask like one project, it's kind of very difficult to pick up. But I think the Hello Yellow office is something that we are very close to, is because there was a time, I think that project came to us around 2018, 2019, somewhere around that time. And this client of ours, he wanted a very typical construction kind of an office. And when we visited the site, when we opened up the whole office space, there was this beautiful light hitting, um, the whole the interior space, and that was on the west side. So it was like an evening sun, and the client was like, okay, we want to do this and we want to do that. And I think he's like, oh, how come this color or that color? Is like, how can anybody use this color? So I was like, why not? And, we were like, who says this shouldn't be used or that shouldn't be used, and we cannot use yellow, it's too much, overwhelming. I said, okay, we are like, okay, we are just going to clad like from floor to the wall to the ceiling yellow, and then we just got to bring bang on. So yeah. And that's how this whole project came to existence, and we're very happy about it.
There was a question coming up for you that what was the design process for the yellow office, but I think you covered it. So when I was setting up the interview and setting up the questions, when I saw that images of yellow office space, I was like, how can someone use a bright color like this in a office? And when I saw those images, my perception changed. And maybe one day I'll also use some bright colors inspiring from that particular space.
Absolutely. I mean, like anybody should be able to do what they like to do. And I'm just like, confidence is the key. So, and I'm sure colors matters a lot in uplifting one's mood. So why not? You should be able to do whatever you feel like happy about or confident about. And yellow is such a transcending color. Like, you just look at it and your brain just wakes up. So yeah.
So my next question to you is, what defines a good design according to you?
I can't really name one, because there's so much which goes into making a good design. I would be belying if I would just say an aesthetic or functional factor is the key importance to making a good design. I think for us, a good design is a juxtaposition or the juxtapose of various elements. For example, say about from the practicality of it, the usage factor of it, the aesthetic of it, and the way the materiality of it. I think everything combined together, put it up in a right fashion is something that defines like good design. I wouldn't still confine to a good design because I don't think so there's a parameter to define good design. It's always subjective. I might say this is good. You might say XYZ, and XYZ can say something else. So for us, it's about individual preference. And if he or she finds it confident enough to, kind of use that, be okay with it and happy about it, and that's what makes a good design.
I think design is progressive and you cannot put a parameter to it, as you said, which is very correct.
Absolutely. You cannot, because as designers, we all are so unique and so different and so, liberated in our own way. And everybody is so unique. So, and every design that you see today is so unique. We cannot say that this is good or this is not so good. So I would say that I think it all depends upon the individual what he or she likes. So yeah.
That's correct. So moving on to our third and last segment, which is advice to the aspirants. So as young architects always need some inspiration, I would like to ask, what are the things to keep in mind when we go for a material selection?
Okay. So one of the important factors that I would say that we have learned over the years for selecting different kind of materials is you need to understand the context of where exactly your project is and what is the climatic factors that you have, which is so very important. I think we did initially a couple of mistakes that we have learned from is to understand what the climate says in that particular project. Even though you have aircon and you have artificially, regulated temperatures and everything, but primarily if you're looking for architecture, the exterior facade, it's very important to adhere to the climatic factors of your geographical location. And for the interiors, again, you need to understand the materiality of it. You need to understand, okay, this product has come into existence when and how many people have used it. And if they've used it, what are the reviews? You can just go and check online, speak to the contractors, speak to people who have already used it, and understand where exactly you're using. I think context plays a very important role. For example, if you're using XYZ tile, where exactly you're going to use, what is the external factors which would be defining it? I think that's one of the important factors. I think context is the important factor before choosing any materials.
I think this will help me as well as the young architects who will see this video. So I would like to ask you again that what materials you would like to explore in coming future.
Well, we are open to a lot of new materials these days, and a couple of things are these days because of the pandemic and stuff. We had one of the, I'm so sorry, I just lost that name, but I'm going to DM you any which ways. So there is this antibacterial surfaces which are coming up now because we are like living in the post-pandemic situation where everything is like no touch, and yet before it was all touch panels, but now it's like, it's not even touch. Yeah. So everything is antibacterial. You just like look at it and you just sense it and give signals and it just comes out. So in 2022 and 2023, we're looking at something which is more relevant, where you can see, you can measure hygiene by looking at it and not by testing something. So these are the new innovative materials that we have come across, and we're looking at, using in a couple of our projects where hygiene is measured, by just looking at the surface, just changes the color if it's not hygiene or something like that. And even the touch panels, there's no touch these days. Everything is through signals. So something like that. Yeah.
So this is the first time I'm hearing about such material. So thank you for sharing that knowledge with me.
Yes. The world is progressing. So I mean, of course, in like coming futuristic materials, all this would be coming up because at the end of the day, the world that we have lived and come across these couple of 2 years that we were all locked up. I think it was tremendous for all these innovators to come up with new projects and new materials, and as architects and designers, it's our primary concern to kind of push these materials and get into our context.
Yes. So for materials, the material you explained, I also followed Neri Oxman for that, and I saw her documentary, and that was like she's working on some different level for these materials. So
Yes.
my last question to you today is, when it comes to dealing with a client, what are the basic protocols an architect should follow?
Thanks for asking. Thanks for asking this. But yeah, I think every practice is different on its own, and every city has clients who are different, and the way they deal with each clients are different. I cannot put like a blanket rule. This would work in Mumbai, would work in Kerala, or what works in Kerala would work in Delhi. It's the whole fabric of people that we deal with is entirely different. So some of the things that has helped us, I can like share with you, especially when we are like young designers who are getting into practice and who wants to set their office straight, is something that is to get everything written and documented in black and white, like your scope of work and your terms and conditions of what your deliverables are has to be listed, and every conversation that you have with clients has to be documented. You cannot pick up a phone call in middle of your lunchtime and then start discussing about the projects. So that's the biggest fail, because once you start doing it, the client get acquainted to it, and it becomes very difficult for you because you keep getting calls by multiple clients, and you'll be doing a lot of works and you won't have their drawings in front of you, and you agree upon so many things and you just tend to forget. So we would always suggest that try to schedule these meetings and try to get the minutes of meetings prepared and then only attend the calls. Otherwise it just doesn't work that way. Like picking up calls randomly when you're traveling, it's just, and discussing about the project, if it's like if it's like on a nutshell, then it's fine. But if you're discussing about particulars, then I would say you need to be aware and every point has to be noted down. And the another important thing is about a lot of people have this problem with the payments and not receiving the payments on time. I feel that if a one individual try to kind of put across in a very polite and in a very professional way, I think there's no getting away with it. At the end of the day, we are designers. We are worth the effort that we have put in, and it also works on psychology, because a lot of people hesitate to give their bills or invoices on time, and that in turn the other person gets like, okay, he doesn't care, it's fine, he's anyway giving the invoice later after a month, so I'll delay the payment after a month. So the psychology works that in such a way that you release a drawing at the same date you need to send your invoices, and make sure that, look, we have released this, this is the stage of pay invoice that you are yet to be paid. And that's how it works. I mean, like, you need to be 100% sure and 100% on track if you want the other person to respect your bills and stuff. So these are the two things. I can go on, but I think for anybody, I think these two are very important points that we have learned and we have made use of it.
I think the first one you explained, that will help me a lot, because every time clients keep calling up, and when you travel, it is very difficult. You don't have drawings in front of you, and it's very hard to explain everything to them. And there is also a barrier between technicality. They don't understand every technical aspect of those drawings, but we do. But you cannot come on the same page due to those differences. And I think these advisors will help every architect, every young architect a lot.
Especially it's kind of very unfair because for us to say anything, you need the drawings in front of you.
Yes.
And for them to tell some changes, you need to write down, right? Like everything cannot be like kept in your head because you are multitasking with 6-8 projects and it's humanly impossible. So always these kind of small changes in the way you run your studio makes a lot of difference.
Thank you for tuning in for this podcast. I hope you enjoyed our talk. You can also follow us on our other social media platforms such as Instagram and YouTube. We post content daily there. The link is added in the description.